Cheaper computers allowed the first online communities to develop. The longest surviving and also the most influential was called The Well.
Over in the corner there, that actually is The Well right now.
It was set up in 1985 near, where else? San Francisco. And without The Well, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and all the other web communities may never have existed.
A lot of people see The Well as kind of a place where they live and exist in a not really intellectual, but in an information kind of sense.
I met a member of the Grateful Dead on The Well.
There's a certain percentage of people in The Well who are what I would call intelligent misfits who've made it work for ourselves.
It was The Well that took libertarianism online. No one was more influential in driving this extraordinary transition than the man who founded it. Stuart Brand once published the Counterculture's Bible, the Whole Earth Catalog. He took part in a legal study of LSD and hung out with the Black Panthers. This is where The Well began, and what went on here has helped define the entire online world. At the time, a fraction of 1% of the planet had encountered the internet. The Well gave many people their first taste of cyberspace.
What was it like? I mean, there must have been such a sense at that time that you wanted to change things, that you wanted to revolutionize communication, knowledge, community, the whole shebang.
I think the assumption we were working on was that the revolution was in progress. We didn't have to push it. And mostly what was drawing us was a sense of both curiosity. What happens if you poke this, try that, think of the other thing. And part of what we were doing was basically making a scene. And so you just had this overlap of people who weren't rich yet, weren't powerful yet, but knew how much juice they had and what a huge opportunity space was opening up in front of us.
Usually I check in news first to see what kinds of interesting things are happening, and then I go to wherever there's a controversy brewing.
And if it's lunchtime at the office and I don't feel like going out, I'll log into The Well and go into the Pets Conference and talk about my cats.
If I've had a particularly stressful day, I go to the Weird Conference, which is where everybody lets it all hang out.
There was 3 or 4 different flavors of sex conferences, from pretty hardcore to very gentle. There was the True Confessions Conference where nobody said a bad thing to anybody else, no matter what they did and that they were fessing up to.
Many people credit The Well with infusing the early online world with an anything-goes attitude, and it did. But for me, what really stepped up the challenge to the established order was when one particular Well member took this attitude and developed it into a radical constitution for online freedom. This would be a key moment in creating the web that we know today. Cyberspace had found a prophet. John Perry Barlow, the lyricist of cult 60s group The Grateful Dead. He took the vague libertarian ideas espoused by many on The Well and started to give them real shape. And he also caused The Well's membership to rocket when news leaked out that by joining The Well, you could chat online with a member of the Grateful Dead. Fans of the band rushed to join.
Deadheads had been online since the very early days of the internet. What they spent most of their time doing was arguing with one another about our deficiencies.
The internet.
Right, you know.
Barlow came to believe that the internet was a challenge to traditional authority, and by setting information free, it would help set us all free.
You know, you don't have to control people much if you can control what they believe, and you can control what they believe if you control what they have access to. If you can control what they can know, the rest of it is a very simple matter.
Barlow helped start the influential Electronic Frontier Foundation that campaigns for freedom online. It's based on beliefs he distilled in his Declaration of the Independence of Cyberspace.
Governments of the industrial world, you weary giants of flesh and steel, I come from cyberspace, the new home of mind. On behalf of the future, I ask you of the past to leave us alone. You are not welcome among us. You have no sovereignty where we gather. It wasn't so much as let the people go. It was a statement saying, hey, we're already gone, dude. You know, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to catch us. Your legal concepts of property, expression, movement, and context do not apply to us. We will create a civilization of the mind in cyberspace. May it be more humane and fair than the world your governments have made before.
Barlow's manifesto argues that self-expression should have no limits, and he believes that this free flow of information would confront authority. Today, the world of blogging, online diaries, and opinionated takes on the news shows that the revolution in freedom of expression can just as easily revert to mindless trivia. But some of the world's estimated 130 million blogs are stimulating a new and important kind of global conversation.
The web allows people to express themselves, receive ideas, discuss them with others, reflect on them, and then come up with what seem to them better ideas. And that's a very exciting and revolutionary prospect.
And, used in the right way, the web can fundamentally alter the political landscape. Oriokola began as a blogger, campaigning for civil rights in Kenya. But soon she developed a dramatic new way to use the web to document reality and harness the power of the crowd. She was driven by the horrific violence in 2008 following elections in Kenya.
At the time, I had gone home to vote for the election. It was my first time voting, actually. And so for me, it was a very emotional moment. And I was also covering on my blog the period leading to the campaign. It was a very contested election. I think none of us anticipated the fallout.
The results of the election were disputed amidst allegations of ballot rigging. Tribal violence broke out between supporters of rival candidates. The official media struggled to cover the spreading crisis.
So they, diaspora people, were getting information from their families, sending it to me and people locally. And I realized what I was seeing from the citizens was not being captured when I turned on my TV, what I was seeing. I mean, I thought clearly, if this is just me, one individual who's getting all this kind of, there must be a lot of stuff going on that we're not seeing in the news.
Ori pulled together a team and created a website called Ushahidi. Ushahidi means witness in Swahili, and it allowed ordinary people to report attacks and create a minute-by-minute snapshot of the turmoil. By giving them a voice, it put pressure on the Kenyan authorities to take action to stem the violence.
The attention was phenomenal, something we didn't anticipate. And what we quickly grew to realize was that there was a need for this kind of platform. And so we realized that we need to turn this into a tool that anybody can use.
Ushahidi reminds me of the early days of the web. It seems to me that with sites like these, we're actually realizing the potential of the technology, and that the world is grappling with what that all means.
The web's ability to harness the power of millions of individual voices is unprecedented in human history. This appears to be the dream of the Great Leveling made real, a paradigm shift on a par with the invention of the printing press. We talk about the web and the internet as if they're the same thing, but they're not. The web is simply the links, information, and web pages delivered to us over the infrastructure known as the internet.